Hi everyone, welcome to Your Friend in the Darkness. And today we welcome my very first guest, Lucy Kong. I met her recently in Sydney. We played some music together, and I just wanted to know more about her story. So here she is.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Lucy. I'm a musician, a composer. I'm based in Sydney. For many years, I went to the Sydney Conservatorium of Music to study music. And then for the majority of my 20s, I actually chased the dream in Japan as a songwriter of Japanese pop music. Now I'm sort of into a new phase of my life. Now that I'm in my 30s, the hustle sort of, you lose the energy for it. I'm
That's a
sort of
vibe.
settling into a more family life season of my life.
I love that. And I think that's kind of what touched me about your music actually was I could hear the hustle in your music. I can't explain it. But we were sort of improvising together and I just knew there was something so deep, and I think that's actually what struck me about you was actually your sister was also at this event that we were at, and you had this really intimate connection with her, and there was also I could just see the way you were looking out for her. And I think there
Oh,
was
that's
something to that because then you wrote this beautiful article that I got to read. And I think that really touched me. So, would you like to tell us
yeah,
more about what you've been
for
writing about?
sure.
Yeah.
And that was lovely of you to say about my sister. And I loved playing with you. It was a wonderful experience. I'm looking forward to more of those in the future.
I'm hoping we
Um,
could do a jam recording actually, some like for the podcast. We'll just have a little jam sesh as well.
but there's
But
like that delay, like the
yeah, we
Zoom
can't do it
delay.
today, but we can do it another time when we're together in person. You'll have to
Yes.
come
Okay,
the
we
way.
will make that happen. Otherwise, it was going to go like very experimental. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I guess this season I'm currently in, and the article that Steph was referring to, uh, yeah. So for me, I think so much of my 20s was just very driven, focused in my music, what I was doing in that realm, and then as my 20s drew to a close, my husband and I decided it was the right season to start a family. So my pregnancy with my first child was the happiest time of my life. It was just glorious. I felt like a goddess. Like
Wow.
I had the pregnancy glow, you know. I was still going to the gym. I was healthy. I didn't have any like nasty side effects. I was just a little bit tired in the first trimester, but like I felt really good.
You're a
Um,
unicorn of pregnant women.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. It was
So
just
far.
sunny days.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful time. Uh and when my firstborn child was born, it was like a light switch. Had like sort of the light had been on throughout my whole pregnancy and just was like day and night. Suddenly I'd gone from having this really happy, comfortable existence. Like my husband and I had been married for 8 years. So we were also very comfortable in like in our sort of daily routine. We had it down pat. And when my eldest child was born, my first child was born, it was just like all of a sudden all these like expectations I was putting on it that I was going to be this wonderful mother and it was going to be this happy, lovely time. Like the lovely days were just going to continue on. Wasn't the case. And within the first week of my daughter's life, I had gone from like I was riding a baby high. I was on this baby high because I was very fixed mindset on how my pregnancy and birthing experience was going to be. Like it had to be all natural and I wasn't going to have an epidural and I had to, had all these very, I was very unkind to myself in a lot of ways. Put very impossible expectations on my shoulders. But I thought, yeah, I'm just gonna, gonna experience this. I'm gonna push this baby out. I want to feel everything. And I succeeded in that. Had a bit of gas, but no epidural. It was long. Well, some women have longer labors, but it was a 36-hour labor. Uh,
That's long.
but I got, but
Yeah.
some women have days where they're just having
Crazy.
contractions for geez, it's like, oh, you poor thing. So I know someone who experienced that. So I don't think my 36 hours was all that much. But I succeeded. I wanted a natural birth, and I sure as heck got it. So I was on a real high for 4 days. But then it just came crashing down because I realized I was like, I'm actually really not enjoying this. I'm not enjoying breastfeeding. I'm not enjoying changing nappies. I'm not enjoying just not having any time to myself at all. That it's just this frantic running around. And it just struck terror in my heart of like, what's wrong with you? You're supposed to like be bonding with your child, and you're finding this really not fun and not enjoyable and not lovely, and just your beautiful life that you had, is just gone now. And it just developed into this, well, at first sort of manifested as anxiety, which I had experienced in my 20s and had gotten under control with professional help. But it was just this anxiety of like, I was so afraid I was just going to do the wrong thing and harm my child, and I just couldn't sleep. And people would come over, like family would come over and be like, oh, we'll hold the baby, you go have a sleep. And I'm like, but I can't sleep. Like I can't unwind. And then it just, within that first week, it just evolved into this terrible depression. And I never had experienced depression like that. And it was just this black hole. I couldn't get out of bed. I had no desire to do anything. There was just, and it was like I was wearing negative glasses, like negative goggles. I was looking at things that would ordinarily in the past just bring me joy and happiness, and I would just feel nothing. And the apathy, and I had this apathy towards my child, and I knew that was very wrong. So I also had this terror because I'm like, the hell is wrong with you? Like, get yourself together. You're going to have serious repercussions for your future relationship if you don't get this sorted. But then I was like, but I don't care. And it was just a frightening thing. And I had a lot of intrusive thoughts, like a lot of really nasty, violent, intrusive thoughts. And I just thought I was going crazy. Thankfully, I had an assigned midwife. She hadn't seen me for about a week, but she came to visit after like sort of that week, and because I didn't have any like red flags or anything. It seemed things were going okay when I came out of hospital. But yeah, she realized, it's like, oh, you've actually, you're not doing so well. Maybe you better come back to hospital, and we'll do the Edinburgh postnatal depression test. So I went in, and of course it confirmed that I needed immediate psychiatric care. And so she encouraged me to just come back to hospital. And so I did, because I didn't know what to do. Like, I just wasn't coping. I wasn't sleeping. Like, I was a complete insomniac. There was no sleep happening. So it was just such a weird, distressing state to be, on one hand, so alert, like my brain just couldn't stop spinning, but at the same time just can't get out of bed, apathetic, no energy for things. It was this weird limbo to be in. But I knew something was very wrong. I think at the time, I rationalized it. I just realized, I hope my microphone's not distorting.
It sounds good to me.
Sounds good? Okay, cool. I rationalized it in my head as, listen, you're just not cut out for motherhood. This was a big mistake. You were never gonna make a good mom. Like, this was a big mistake. You're not cut out for motherhood. You're just a bit incompetent in this area. And yeah, that was how I sort of explained how I was feeling. It was very hard on myself. And yeah, so I returned to hospital. They found me a bed in the antenatal unit, and I received help from the crisis team. So there was a psychiatrist and a mental health nurse. And they told me about this hospital in Burwood called St. John of God. And at that time, this was back in 2019, it was the only mother-baby unit in New South Wales, like mental health unit, specifically for mums and bubs. So they were like, you'd be great. Like, you're a great candidate for that. And I was thankfully able to get a spot because like, we didn't have top cover. because it's a private hospital. But the New South Wales government had introduced, I think just the year before, the mental health waiver, where if you, I don't know if it's still the case now, but it was basically for one time in your life, if you need immediate psychiatric care, you can forego the wait list and get a spot, like just pay an excess and go straight in. So we were able to do that. So I was out of the antenatal ward on the Wednesday, and I went to St John of God on the Friday. And yeah, so I think when I went there upon arrival, like it was very confronting. Like, I mean, I never been to a psychiatric ward before. I'd never been a psychiatric inpatient, and the sort of the admission process was hard because there's just endless questionnaires and things you have to do, and you're just not yourself. Everything's just so exhausting when you're depressed. Um, and also, but there was just I just felt like an utter failure. It's like, you have this perfect life. You don't deserve to feel depressed. Like, there are people that have real problems. What are your problems? You have none. You have no problems. You live in a good area, a happy marriage. You can do the things you love. Like, what are you going on about? So I was very, very hard on myself. And again, sort of rationalizing the way I was feeling as, yeah, it's just you're incompetent and a failure, and you know, you shouldn't have signed up for motherhood. Um so yeah, so the good thing about being where I was in John of God, it was great that I was with other ladies who are in the same boat. So it was nice to sort of at least have that sort of reassurance that you're not actually the only person who feels like this. And all the women I was with, they were extraordinarily competent, like amazing people. Like, one of the ladies was with me, still a good friend of mine now, is a doctor, like retrieval doctor, an architect. Like, yeah, I was with these really phenomenal women, very, very capable women. And so that was really helpful. And just being in a place where there's no barriers of care. Like, look, you're at the hospital, everything you need is there. So, like, because when you're depressed, it's just really hard to do anything. But for me, it was just, I just had to walk down the hallway, and that's where I go to group or see my doctor or whatever. So yeah, so for me, the first couple of weeks was really hard. It was, I mean, I can't really put it into words. I think I certainly have gained so much perspective just on, having grace for people, because, life is really hard and you don't know what someone's life looks like. And I certainly now know, I really know what, just mental distress feels like. And it's the most horrible thing. Um, and it's such a strange thing. It's not like, if you break your leg, there's a fairly sort of standard method of recovery, right? Like, goes in a cast, it has x-rays. But with mental health, there's no one size fits all approach. It really is dependent on you and your history and your background. And, so anyway, that was hard. But for me, I found, like, yeah, the first couple of weeks was really, really hard. I was just trapped into this spiral of just, yeah, ferociously just beating myself up and being really negative on myself. And but the third week, I turned a corner because I started to recognize that I was in hospital not because I was a failure, but because I was profoundly unwell. And I was there because I needed help. And that something, as insidious as postnatal depression, it's something that really, it's a combination of physical, psychological, environmental, and like hormonal factors. And every woman has different levels of different things. And certain combinations, like certain numbers, can just sort of so line up that it's the perfect storm for postnatal depression to happen. So I started to recognize that it wasn't actually my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. It was just, it was just an unfortunate combination of things. And that I was there because I needed help. And the people there, the nurses and the doctors and the therapists, like, they're all there because it's their job to help me become well. And that's when I think I stopped fighting the process, and I started to accept that, okay, this is a process that's going to take as long as it's going to take. Like, I can't put a number on it. I just have to kind of surrender to it. Because I think up until that point, I was still really fighting it. I think a lot of people use that phrase, like, when it comes to mental health, like, you have to fight this thing. And it's like, oh man, I know from experience, like, if you take a swing at anxiety or depression, like, it'll just like punch you right back. Like, you can't fight this thing. You have to surrender. Like, you have to accept, okay, this is where I'm at, and I'm not going to fight it, because that's telling myself that's applying like the word should. And it's a dangerous thing if we apply shoulds to ourselves. You just have to accept that this is where I'm at and it doesn't feel great, but there is a pathway through it. I just have to lean on as many supports as I can and trust that there is a process. So it's one of those things where I think there's a great it's like a it's on YouTube. It's a rabbi, and he gives this sort of, he uses this analogy of like a lobster, and it's like, in order for a lobster to grow, it has to cast off its shell and be all soft and squishy and vulnerable in order to grow a bigger shell. And so I learned as well, like, vulnerability isn't a weakness. There's so much that you can learn and grow. It's almost like it's an opportunity for growth these times in your life. And for me, it was a huge growth spurt. Like, it was a terribly difficult and hard and stressful thing, but what came out of it was so much growth. And I think, yeah, what am I saying? It's a big story, and I'm not pacing it very well. Let me go
I,
back. Let me
you're
think.
doing an amazing job.
Oh,
I'll just
thank you.
speak into one of the images that you
Yeah,
just mentioned, this
please,
beautiful
please,
image.
please give me some prompting here,
Oh,
Steph.
oh yes, of course. That image of the lobster, that's fantastic. And
Oh, I can't
with,
take credit for that. If you look, it's a rabbi in New York or something, but it's just it's so true. Like, when you're
it's
vulnerable, it's actually when you can grow the most. It's when you
absolutely.
accept that vulnerability and accept that, yeah, I'm not in a great place. I need to let go.
Mm.
I need to let go of this. I'm holding on tightly. Just let it go. Oh gosh. Sorry, I'm about to do a Frozen quote. Let's not go there.
Funny.
Let's
I
not
think
quote Idina Menzel.
why not? Why not? But I think yeah, the image that's really powerful. So we've got this image of we've got a bit of surrender, but also this image of the struggle. And I
Mm,
was actually on this women's retreat recently, and one of the speakers, it was a silent retreat, but there was an input. And the
mm,
speaker actually mentioned another image that was about the butterfly, that, you've got this caterpillar, it turns into mush, then all this fighting has to happen. And then
mm,
the butterfly becomes strong and is able to kind of overcome those circumstances in a sense.
mm.
And it kind of sucks because it's like no one else can fix it for us, and like even we
No,
can't fix it sometimes. It just
no.
has to come from above. And it yeah, it's like it's really interesting. And then she also brought up this image about what we focus on, and that with a photo it develops in the dark. So I wonder if perhaps that's a bit of your story. Now, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about we might wrap up this episode here, and we'll just we'll start again in another minute. And but I think you've left our listeners with some really powerful imagery about you've kind of de-shelled. And then I think
Mm,
in our next episode, you can choose where we want to go with it. But it sounds like you
yeah,
wanted to add a bit more perspective onto what happens as you progressed out of the shell, I guess, or
for sure.
I'm not sure. I don't want to be leading it. Like I feel like it's
No,
your
no, no, it's
story,
okay.
but
This is
you
new for
said it's a
both of
big
us. This
story.
is
Yeah.
also this is my first podcast.
It's
This
a
is yours. Yeah.
exactly. It's a really big story, but I think that's a lot and it's beautiful. So thank you so much, and we'll
Oh, no, my pleasure.
um
There is hope, ladies.
there is absolutely hope,
It's
and it's
coming.
coming up. It's coming up right now.
Listen to next episode.
That's it. Have a great day.